All right. Let's get it started. I was super excited to come together. Really interested in holding this conversation. Oh man, I'll be watching this video for years of you all, and I'll be like, oh, I remember that class. Oh, she's so amazing right now. But as you all grow into becoming the teachers that you are, I want to ground us a little bit in some of the numbers. First off, how many people do you think are in America? Just ballpark.
8.3 billion.
No, not billion. I think there's like 9 billion in the world, so 9 billion.
Oh, in America.
In America. America.
3.9 million.
3 mil. Interesting. There's 3 in the number. Any other guesses?
30 million.
30 million. Close. 340 million Americans. It's a lot of people.
We went 2 over and then we started going down.
Yeah, it's okay. Price is right. Totally fine. 34 million. Now, of this 34 million, how many do you think have a bachelor's? Oh, not even a high school diploma.
65%.
A little higher.
Less than that.
A little higher.
Oh,
80%.
70%?
73%.
Interestingly, 94%.
Wow.
Now, that's of people over the age of 24.
Oh.
For the ages of 18 to 24, it's about 60%. And that number goes up and down. So let's keep climbing this ladder of academia. How many people do you think hold bachelor's degrees in this nation? How many people do you think hold master's degrees? What about a doctoral degree?
25%?
A mere 24% of this nation holds a bachelor's degree.
Damn.
14% holds a master's degree, and less than 3% hold a doctoral degree. So it lets you know how serious. Come on in. It's okay. You're right on time. Right on. Try to, yeah. All right, so when we think about these numbers, it's much more than what we're used to. The people in our school, the people in our classes, the people in our neighborhood. To envision 340 million people, that's a lot of people. But when you start to break that down, and you think of the people that you look up to, you think of some of the people that you come across every day in academia or in some of these places where education rears itself, I want you all to understand that it's not as robust as we think it is. Now let me drive this home a little more. So when you think of the highest education attainment, and I got this from, I got these numbers from a number of places. Census, education statistics, the National Assessment of Education Progress. We'll get into that. But when you look at Americans age 18, look how this pie is split. When you start to ask yourself, what is it that I'm in search of for you? Right now, you all are in search of bachelor's degrees. You're all getting your degree. And that's amazing. For many of you all, it may only be your first degree. You may go off to get your master's or your doctorate. But when you think of the nation as a whole, and the amount of people with some degree, some college, no degree, bachelor's, high school diploma, the numbers, they shake you a little. So let's transition that. When you think of your role as a teacher, and you think of how many students are actually dropping out, the beauty is a lot less students are dropping out in comparison to 10 years ago, in 2012. I'll show you that in a moment. But I think how things are tied together focuses a lot on literacy. And growing up, I used to always think adults were so smart. If you're older than me, you're smarter than me. You've been around a long time. You have much more time to prepare yourself, to refine your skills. But the older I had gotten, the more I realized that there were so many more people who didn't know and acted as though they did than people who actually knew in this world. Case in point, roughly 45 million Americans are functionally illiterate, meaning they read below a 6th grade reading level. That's a lot of people. When you think of about 130 million U.S. adults, they're reading below grade level, below 6th grade. When you think of our newspapers, our articles, our magazines, much of this information, depending on its prestige and legitimacy, is written on a 6th, 7th, 8th grade reading level. The Washington Daily Post, 7th, 8th grade reading level. So when you think of whether you're a primary teacher or an intermediate teacher, it's incredibly paramount to know that the average American reads on a 7th to 8th grade reading level. And that's a lot of wiggle room. Because if you're talking to somebody, to that percentage of the population who may have struggled a lot in academia, we don't want to look down on anybody, but as educators and teachers, we want to try to model what good citizenship is, especially for our students. Now remember that 54% of our nation read on a 5th grade reading level. About 45 million people can't read above 5th grade reading level. And this is from so many places. I combine this from different websites and different databases. When they make the correlation between poverty and illiteracy, no one's going to tell you that directly, but we have to open our eyes and see that the lowest literacy rates can be found in low-income communities. And not only people of color, but across the board. And I thought that was interesting as well. I'll show you. That was another statistic that really stuck out to me. But when you think of some of these, just kind of general, nearly 4 out of 10 8th grade students read below proficient. 27% of 8th graders have a reading level below the basic level. Or what about a third of U.S. 4th graders have a reading level that's lower than the basic level? And I'll show you how all that's tracked, the progress. But it's interesting to see how it compounds. And while we don't necessarily assess in K-1-2, we understand that if they don't learn those shapes and colors, we understand that if they don't have that sight word list down, they're on the road to fail. So, let's make an even deeper connection. High school dropout rates. I thought this information was interesting as well to see how far we've come. All of this technology in the classroom, all of this opportunity, yet it's still kind of scary out there. But I like to celebrate. I like to smell roses, flowers, celebrate the small wins. High school dropout rates have decreased within the last 10 years. And I think that's interesting. Some of the leading demographics that high school dropouts represent: American Indian, Alaska Native, Hispanic, Black, all the way down to white and Asian. So I started to see the correlation in some of the states that were producing some of these higher dropout rates. I think they said like Minnesota is the lowest. They say it's one of the lowest states in terms of dropout rates, but then you have places like New Mexico. What else? Places in Texas. They talk about Oregon as well, but when I think about New Mexico, I think about some of the reservations. I think of the ruralness. I'll probably use a better word, but I think of like its distance from, I don't say society, but when you think of the ability to mail, you think of Wi-Fi, you think of all these things that are disassociated with real life, economy, e-commerce in the city. So you can see this strain, but again, we always want to celebrate some of the small things. So we want to push for students to continue to go to school, but it's nice to see that dropout rate is going down. About 1 million students drop out each and every year in the United States. That's one student every 26 seconds and 7,000 a day. It's a lot of students. It's a lot of students. Right now in this nation, there are about as of 2022, so that's 4 years ago, there was 2.11 16 to 24-year-old children who were considered dropouts. Or we could say adults. People. It's wild. So remember, the good news is that number has decreased over the past 10 years. But as we continue to streamline and AI and social media continues to get out of hand, as does the rest of society, Where does that leave our students? All right, so I like to take it one step at a time. A little bit more data, a little bit more numbers. The NAEP, the National Assessment of Educational Progress, this is what's referred to as our nation's report card. Every 2 years, 4th graders, 8th graders, and 12th graders. They are all given this assessment in a sense, and that's how we're able to gauge, well, how are our nation's 4th graders doing? How are our nation's 8th graders? How are they doing? That's amazing. But is the truth really amazing? So this is 8th grade in reading. So on the left side of this graph, you're at 1998. The last time this test was administered was 2 years ago, 2024, all the way to the right, a score of 253. So if we compare where we were as a nation, what is this about? Any of my math teachers out here, was it 24, 26 years ago? We're lower than where we were. Any idea how? How can we possibly be lower? How can our 8th graders score lower in reading in comparison to how they did 26 years ago? That's a real question, not rhetorical. In a safe space, as y'all know.
I read something that it's mainly because the education system hasn't been updated with the current times. Students' attention spans have been lowered, or like the traditional styles of teaching doesn't work with the style that these students need, and we need to adapt to it.
I love it. Thank you. Give me something else. So, obsolete. The educational system is possibly obsolete. We've yet to update the firmware. Give me something else.
Children rely too much on technology.
We're relying on tech. What tech was there? Were y'all even around 26 years ago? I barely was, but I was like watching Hey Arnold back then. But I know one thing. Cell phones, iPads, flat screen TVs, having a library, everything that you want in your pocket did not exist. So again, I ask you, how can we seem to be on a decline? This is current data where our 8th graders are in reading across the nation. I can't say it's the same where you are in South Miami or in Miami, where y'all teaching right now, but across the board, the average is a decline. So we had education is probably getting old. Think, what'd you say? You said screen time, Ms. Rogers? Technology. Anything else?
They're just like, I'm gonna like piggyback on
It's
you.
okay.
They're just like, they're not able to use critical thinking because the technology is just doing their work for them. So it's like they're not actually using and utilizing their like brain.
I love it. But let's take a moment. Critical thinking makes me think of Bloom's taxonomy, higher order thinking. Some people get so caught up in remembering and regurgitation. I'm gonna memorize these flashcards as opposed to processing what someone is sharing with you and synthesizing it in a way where you can apply it to your studies, to your lesson plans, to your engagements with children. Sadly, we're in a world where some people would rather, be prompted or be told what to think as opposed to how to think. Teach me how to develop critical thinking skills. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm piggybacking off of that.
So,
But this is going to be a bit more multifaceted what I'm talking about. So studies have shown when it comes to younger kids, showing them more than about an hour or two of screen time genuinely ruins their critical thinking. It lowers it psychologically. And this is like children from like K to 8, I think. And recently more parents have been putting their kids in front of screens in order to basically keep them occupied so that they can do some other things. Now, the reason why I'm saying that this is a bit more multifaceted is because I grew up with screens. I grew up with watching TV and all that stuff. So, and I was obsessed with it. But I wouldn't say I lack critical thinking. But what I'm trying to say here is that the main problem with it is that where they're getting the technology from. For instance, when they're put in front of an iPad or something along those lines, they go to YouTube. And YouTube mainly has education materials for kids that are not properly made. For example, there's like been a study about Cocomelon, where that they show less than like a few seconds of one scene every like 5 seconds. And that actually does impact children psychologically a lot because of how fast everything's going. They are overstimulated and like cannot focus, but it's like a drug to them. They cannot, they'll lash out if it's taken away from them. That's why you get like the violent kids who really want to get Cocomelon when you try to take away their iPad. Meanwhile, when it comes to standard issue kids television, they have about 10 seconds of one scene because they're not going to move the scenes too fast because that damages kids. That's why I say it's a bit more multifaceted than just technology's bad for kids. No, kids have been watching TV since like, I don't know, the 80s or something. But they were always watching kids-appropriate TV that has been proven to be able to help educate them and not rot their brain. Meanwhile, YouTube doesn't have that restriction, and thus it rots the brain.
It's as though it's the wild, wild west out there. No parameters, there's no revisions, nobody spot checking, you know, but I think...
Oh, they are spot checking, but they're using AI and not really using anything else to properly manage it.
I would think, when I think of the parameters that are set, the supervisors, they're checking for copyright infringement of music and things that have little or nothing to do with the cognitive ability. You know, I totally agree. I think we have seen a change and a transition in animations and cartoons in terms of the stability or the sustainability of a child's thought process. But that's a whole nother lecture in itself. I do thank you for that. Now, I showed you 8th grade. We're almost all elementary teachers in here.
Oh, boy.
Take a look at 4th grade. In comparison to, I think we're all the way back to, this looks like 92. We're at 208. And then in 2024, we're at 218. So it's nice to see a rise. And do take a look at the curve. Oh, wait. Oh, bring me back. Take a look how it seems to, it's not as evident as in 4th grade. But it's like there's a rise in reading, and then there's a drop. What was that, 2016, 2017? It was at 228. So how in 2024, it went down 10 points? Anybody remember what happened?
COVID.
There was
I
COVID
was about
during
to
that
say,
time.
so there's the fact of COVID on top of everything else.
So it's a layer. It's like a compounding effect when you think of what's truly taking, number one, the attention away from our children, or what's lessening the impact that we're having on curriculum development or curriculum delivery. Definitely curriculum delivery if you've got 30 kindergartners on a Zoom session. I can't imagine what that had to be like. But I definitely wanted to ground us in just what was happening, or what is happening around us. To be able to see, there are a lot of children and adults who are out here struggling. And remember, growing up, I used to always think if you're an adult, you're smart, you know what's going on. But as we continue to come to be, we realize that there are some gaps in areas of concerns. And some adults as children quite possibly were left behind or fell behind in a sense. All right, cool. So what can we do? Second half of the lecture. Wait, give me a moment. Ooh. A little brain freeze. All right, cool. Second half of the lecture. I want to talk a little bit about where we were in terms of numbers, statistics, how that's impacting children and adults as well. 45 million Americans reading below a 6th grade reading level is pretty wild. But when we think of how we teach reading and how we can teach language arts, building vocabulary is one of my favorite pieces of children's literature. The reason why in language development is because we don't teach vocabulary as like black and white as we would teach phonics. This is the ch sound. Can you say ch? This is how we blend this. No, it's not like that with vocabulary. What I love about vocabulary is that you can use it in a way where it's organic, or we're just having casual conversation. But I was reading up on some of my papers on vocabulary last night, or early this morning preparing for this. You want to avoid using vocabulary in a way where it's like a showmanship, like you Stephen A. Smith or somebody. Like, we don't use language in a way where we're trying to show off, but definitely use it in a way where you want to motivate people to want to learn more, want to read, or want to figure out how to develop their vocabulary. Because sadly, if a child does not have a robust vocabulary by the time they're in 3rd, 4th grade, how do they understand the words in the chapter books? We're no longer in picture book territory when we get to 3rd grade. So you want to be refining your children's vocabulary. All right, so how do we build vocabulary? That could be one of like the bases right now. Well, one of my sons, we're working on, Latin and Greek roots. And it sounds so tough, but it's not. I think what excites me about building vocabulary is understanding how affixes impact morphemes and how root words can grow. And I think that's what's so confusing about the English language, is that words can take on so many different meanings and tenses, verb tense agreements, and just so many ways that it can impact the sentence. When we think of affixes, either prefixes or suffixes, parts of words that impact them. Read and reread, or the S in books symbolizes plurality. We know these things. Take a moment to refresh yourself. Some of the prefixes, the meanings, because these are things you're going to teach children. And here's what I never liked. And I understood the importance of spelling. It took me a long time to figure out why we teach children how to spell. But it's understanding word origins, where words come from. They come from other languages or different periods in time. But it's so much more than just memorize how to spell this word. When we break down language, when we break down words, we're teaching children in a way how to decode language, how to understand, how to break down big words that may be intimidating. And they're not. It's just a prefix and a root word attached. It just looks big. It's really not. Some of the common suffixes we see in English. We use these words and these endings and affixes every day. Every single day. Some correctly, some incorrectly. That's okay. We know about synonyms, antonyms, and homonyms. These are incredibly fun mini lessons to teach children. Playing games with words. I love wordplay. I love alliteration. I love words that you can use in multiple meanings in multiple ways, especially when you write poetry, especially as we write our children's book that's due at the end of the term. Whether you choose to rhyme or not, you're still going to play with words. So play with words in a way where you've never seen a sentence structured in a way. Create something memorable. I think what I love most about writing is when people read my words, they literally have to read the words that I came up with. You have to read it how I see it in my mind. I can't really impact their inflection and tone and all that, but I can help guide their thinking and their thoughts. And as can you, or as will you. So we know there are different tiers of words. I wouldn't come out the gate with tier 3 words for every single student, because we know there's no cookie cutter word approach. When I speak whole group and whole class, I will use some spicy vocab. I will use some vocabulary. But I may not use the level of vocabulary I use with a high level student that I would with a low level student. Because we all know when students are frustrated, they do what?
They give up.
Yes, they cry. Well, what do they do ultimately?
Give up.
They give up. They quit. And once you've lost them, you might not be able to restart until after recess or the next day with that child. Please.
I would still try to expose them to higher levels.
Absolutely.
Because, like, growing up, my mom would, like, have me watch TV shows that were meant for, like, adults. Not that bad, but, like, ABC shows, right? Ever since I was, like, in kindergarten, so what I'm saying. I would sit with her and watch them on weekends. And because of that, I got like a huge vocabulary at
Yeah.
like age 2, because sometimes I would bring up words like monochrome when talking about black and white, for instance. And I have heard from other parents when I talk about these big words in front of their kids and go like, oh, sorry, let me dumb down the words a bit. There's like, no, keep talking like that. That way they'll pick it up. The best way to kind of merge the two is basically use the big words, but make the kids comfortable enough to be like, wait, what does that mean? And then you explain what the word means, and then they start using it themselves.
Now I want to make sure we have a fine line in the sand here.
Mhm.
Because we never do want to dumb it down in a way where we're taking away from what we offer to children, whether they've been exposed to it or not. I was want to expose children in a way where they're hearing something new, seeing something new, and it's building off of something they have already experienced, something they're familiar with. However, when I am speaking whole group, I have to be mindful that every student may not be on the level of thinking that I want them to be on. So I will speak pretty generally. I will still slip in my spicy vocab. I'll prepare students. We have our vocab written on the board so they know that it's coming. But the conversation that I'll have with a child on a 5th grade reading level will not be the same as a child on a 1st grade reading level. It's just, I have the same intentionality, the same love, but it just won't land the same. But I'm always for exposure. Don't baby talk my kids. Like, don't talk to them like they don't understand what you're saying. Just give them a little bit more context when you talk. That's all.
Because then if you dumb it down too much, it'll make them feel like you're talking to them like they're a baby.
It is condescending. You know what I'm saying? So that's a really, really beautiful way of looking at it. All right, so be mindful of the vocabulary tiers. I'm not telling you to memorize this, but know that there are levels when we are engaging with children, especially when you're engaging with your children. You know your students. You may not know every student in the hallway that you come across. You still show them love, but your students, you know who the true higher order thinkers, and you know those who need a little bit more extra love, a little bit more TLC, and that's totally fine. There's no cookie cutter approach to doing this. You have to be able to adapt and adjust to your high levels. Your people who are going to get it on the first try, and the students that you kind of got to slow it down with. You may have to bring them back to the kidney bean table. There's nothing wrong with that. They have to talk a little slower. It's okay. Because right now, they'll accept that. Right now, come on in. Right now, they'll welcome it. But when they turn 14, 15, 16, and somebody has them back at the kidney table, talking slow to them, reading with a finger, how do you think they're going to respond to that? Yeah, not good at all. Not very welcoming. That's why I love elementary. Because they're right there at that cusp. Where everything you do is the coolest thing in the world. Every single thing you do. And how you shape, like, their introduction to literature means so much. If you use literacy in a way where it's a form of punishment, all right, everybody's reading for 50 minutes a night, how do you think that's going to sit with that child?
They're not going to want to do it.
They're not going to want to do it. But if you use literacy in a way where, I went on this adventure last night. Oh man, I popped this big old bowl of popcorn and I sat down and I cuddled up and I grabbed my favorite blanket, and you created a moment for them. Something that they're going to want to replicate. Because that's what that's what each of you did. You got to be mindful of the environment that you create. It's your classroom. All right, I don't want to beat this up. Selecting words to teach. We all know that we're planning on Sundays, or at least prior to the lesson. We know what our vocabulary is because we know our effective components of a lesson plan. So we've already identified the 2-3 words that we're going to highlight. But now you're using it in a way where you're intentional about it. All right, we're going to learn about fractions today. Our vocabulary today is denominator. Can everybody say denominator? Like, different ways to play this game. Just know that there are different levels to introduce vocabulary to children. You have your curricular vocabulary, which is tied directly to your lesson plan. But then you have I don't have a name for it, but the vocabulary that you hear in your head. the text, the words that you can see when you close your eyes. I don't know if it's just me being a weirdo as a writer, but I can see the words before I say them. It's like captions in reality to me. But you gotta be gentle with words in your language. You have to be very gentle because we don't want to come off condescending. And we don't want to frustrate children. And we know we're located in South Florida, where English language learners are beyond us. For some of you all, you got a beautiful crutch. You got something I can't do. I still can barely talk Spanish. But if you go to a place like Colorado or Oregon, how's that going to help you? So right now we want to be flexible. We want to be aware of our children and what they bring to the table, their experiences, all those different things. We're learning, so this is different ways that we can not only introduce vocabulary, but kind of intertwine it with mini lessons, guided practices, independence practices, learning, breaking down words. How do we understand unfamiliar words when we come across them in the text? When you're reading out loud with children, and you know a fancy word when you see it, or a word that you typically don't use in the class, highlight that. Bring that up. Does anybody know what this means? It's one of my favorite things to do when I do reading louds. Of course, I sprinkled in some spicy vocab in the manuscript, and I'm preparing for it. I don't want to hear the word cocoon. I want to hear the word, anyone know? Scientific name for a cocoon?
Chrysalis.
A chrysalis. I ask fourth graders and third graders and second graders that. That's what I want you to walk away with. Anybody know another name for a turtle shell, like the scientific name? It's a carapace. Can everyone say carapace? Carapace. So now, these are general things that you're going to see for the rest of your life. Hopefully, before they go extinct. Hopefully. And that right there, that moment of attaching a vision or something that's very special to me, sea turtles, and sharing something special with you, vocabulary, language, already, every day, every conversation, every moment with a child is another opportunity to take them another step forward. All right, so we're learning strategies, context clues. Love me some context clues. Morphology, how does the word transform when we add suffixes and affixes? Multiple meanings, tricky wordplay. We know adults who struggle with multiple meanings. Does anyone know an example of that? Oh, I can tell you a couple of words that grind my gears that I see in people's captions.
Like there?
There. Can't stand it. Your. There's another one that really grinds my gears. I want to see if anybody can get it. Any other, these are homonyms, homophones, words that sound the same. Yes, they have multiple meanings. There's another one. There's a bunch of them. Apart and apart.
I mess that one up sometimes.
Sometimes I have to say it out loud. And I'm not the grammar police, but we're educators now. So people are going to be watching you. They're going to be looking at the words you say. Nothing grinds my gears more when I intentionally shorthand via text. And people be like, aren't you a doctor? Like, you don't speak in complete sentences. I'm like, bro, we just texting.
Bro, I write in run-on sentences, and my dad was just like, holy run-on sentences,
Yeah.
Batman.
Some people take it, I love the Batman references from the 60s. Some people take that incredibly serious, but know that it's a representation of you. And it only took me one time to learn that the email that I wrote to somebody was so poorly written, they printed it out, and we had a tough conversation about it. Never be put in that position. Be proud of what you submit. Because I'm at home reading everything that you write me. Emails. Oh, I was sick this morning. I can hear it through the phone. Through the screen, I can hear you. It's a representation of you, and children are going to continue to manifest that. Dictionaries. I don't know what cognates are. Recognize English words that are similar to words in native language. Oh, yes, it's beautiful. Yes, there are a number of words. But see, when you try to go down that path, you sound foolish trying to say words in Spanish or words in Spanish by just adding an O to English, and you end up embarrassing yourself. So be careful with the cognates. But they are very useful. Dictionaries. English to Spanish dictionaries, English to French. It's real. I couldn't really afford much when I was a 3rd and 5th grade teacher. And I had this one student. Well, number one, the transiency in Nevada is crazy. People coming from south of the border, left and right. And that's okay. But and a lot of people who are true English language learners. We're talking about a 10-year-old doesn't know a lick of English that might be sitting in your classroom. And the only thing I had to offer her was an English to Spanish dictionary. I was like, this thick. And to me, that never was enough. So in that moment in my life, I found a problem and I found a solution by writing a book that was bilingual. Because that was my way of connecting some of the cognates or some of the words in English to Spanish. It's just a little step in this game of education. I want to say that's about it. We always think about our Common Core standards, students analyzing unfamiliar words, students recognizing multiple meanings of words, and students determining the meaning of grade appropriate academic vocab. These are Common Core standards at each and every grade level. Children will never get to the age where they don't need to utilize how to define unknown words, because we learn new words every single day. Unless you surround yourself with low order thinking people and you only watch content on your timeline that's low order thinking. But if it's higher order thinking, you're gonna come across words that you never heard before, like fraught. And I said, oh, I like how they use that. And most importantly, or equally as importantly, our English language learners, understanding that we're always trying to figure out how to bridge that gap. Because frustration is real, no matter how old a child or an adult is. And if they lose that battle of the mind and what it is that they can achieve in the beginning, then you've lost them for the entire journey. Cool. Are there any questions? Is anyone walking away with anything today? I mean, I would hope you walk away every time you leave my class, but something a little more tangible today.
Yeah, I didn't know that the reading rates were like that in the U.S., especially with adults. I really didn't have any idea.
It's Ravensburg.
I thought the graduation rate was way lower than it is.
Also, too. It actually went up a couple years because I had to redo the slide. I did all this morning. I had it already. I had to do this last week, and I was like, oh, I should bring this to my class, but I had to polish it a little bit.
I wonder how much of the data might be kind of skewed by immigrant students coming in.
I thought that's a very interesting thing. Think about the dropout rate. What was super frustrating at 4 o'clock this morning was I couldn't get it was hard to determine a straight up number. What is the percentage of dropouts? What is the percentage of people with high school diplomas? Now remember, it said 94%. A couple years ago, it was like 88%. But that represents the American population over the age of 24. What about from 16 to 24? Because technically you could drop out in 10th grade. Those numbers are unaccounted for. So while the numbers say about 2.1 million Americans are considered dropouts right now, that they don't know. They don't know that in totality. Because what about the people who drop out and they just fade away? And that may not have been reported to the census. That is wild. That pisses me off. What pisses me off more, what upsets me even more is how we are in a decline with reading. How? How can 4th graders read, or was it 8th graders? How can 8th graders read dang near on the same level as where we were in the 90s? How is that possible, ladies? I want you to think about that until the next time I see you, and we'll revisit that question. Enjoy Thursday. Take that to yourself. I know you've been working hard with your internships, so I don't want to burn you out. I want to see my children's book soon. We're going to do some check-ins, so be ready to show me something, some sketches, some doodles. I want to see your children's book. We have to do the unit theme, the unit plan. So I'm going to start asking for a draft of that in like 2 weeks, like mid-April. So start putting things down on paper. All right. Yes, ma'am.
I finally found a video that actually did told me about like the screen attention span and why Cocomelon is like really awful YouTube videos.
I want you to email that to me.
Yeah.
I'll watch it. I'm about to take my car to the shop, so I'll watch it.
It's one of those video essays that
That's
does
fine.
have like.
I like it.
screen
So probably same thing we doing. Just drop a camera and just hit record. And whatever comes out, hopefully it's something beautiful.
What they did also was compare children's media like Bluey, than even like Disney movies when they comes to their scene changes compared to Cocomelon with
Now,
like,
these
and
are
stuff.
things that I like to study. Cinematography, or how that impacts a child's cognitive ability. Because we can do so much with technology. And I think of like, all right, this is where I go left field with it. Anybody seen The Incredibles 2?
Yes.
What was the screen?
Screensaver?
Yes! That's real to me. Like hypnotism, I don't think with the watch, I don't think that's real, but I do believe that we can create content and visuals that can distract, that can take your mind away from what they truly want you to be thinking about. Oh yeah, man, it's deception. It's all around, and it's only going to get better, which is really scary.
There's also the fact that in this video it also talks about like parents' accounts when they tried to take away Cocomelon from the kids.
Yes, yeah, I was listening to this one study on the Run a couple months ago. They were doing this study on Generation Alpha, which is the youngest. I think they have a Generation Beta now, but the Generation Alpha, they were taking the screens away from the children and noticing that children would still sit with their thumbs like this. They would still be in this trance without the device. It's terrifying. This is where we're going. This is where we're heading. I mean, we're already here.
Where kids' first reaction to a laptop is to go press.
Oh, yeah!
Instead of trying to type and scroll that way.
Think of how many buttons are no longer in your car. How we've made the transition from analog to digital. I love buttons. I like buttons, I like knobs, I love stuff like that. I don't like screens. It's literally just, remember the old iPhone?
I remember
With the one with the home button?
Yes.
I love the home button!
I remember when it scans your thumbprint.
I really like that. The government, but they got all our information already.
The whole button was nice, but
The home button was very nice.
But again, in my opinion, it's not even technology that's the problem. It's the stuff that's being put out.
That's real
that kids
propaganda.
are being consumed by, and no parent is monitoring.
You're right. I read comments. I don't know who's real, who's fake. On that note, don't read the comment section. Ladies, I wish you all the best.
Children don't even read the comment section because YouTube Kids somehow have it accessible.
That's good.
It's not even that. No, but then it's not even that. But what happens? Why it's so bad? Like YouTube Kids in general.
Oh, have
keep
you
them
seen-
off of it.
no
It's
classes
because
there.
No class Thursday. No class Thursday.
it's because so much filters
It's real.
are
No.
bypassed.
I can tell you firsthand from my YouTube account, there's some nasty people out there.
I think the
And it
comment
hurts.
section is my favorite part sometimes.
Oh man, it's good. Sometimes it's good. Unless they talk about you.
Yeah.
Hey, Vanessa, I love the reading nook that you made. And your read aloud video, very nice. Very nice. Everybody did good. Do you know how to play the piano? Yeah, I'm watching. Oh, you.
Me?
You
Oh,
were in front of a piano and a fat cat.
my
Was that a cat?
Do you
that
want
was
to
a
stop
that was
this?
a dog.
Oh, yeah. Stop.
So I have a